2017. I'm Mark Crutcher.
And I'm Renee Hobbs. Thanks for joining us.
We're having
Boy, has it been
a nightmare.
a nightmare back here.
We were supposed to be on about 20 minutes ago. We've had a lot of problems, and then just as we started right now, the wrong thing was up on the screen, so it kind of threw me off.
It kind of confused us a little bit, but we're good. We're here.
We're easily confused, especially you.
Speak for yourself.
No, especially you. Let's say, of course, I know Tim, your husband, watches every day to see how
Yes.
you're treated. And so he knows that I pick on you a little bit.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Then he'll have some
Tim,
ammunition.
Tim, don't worry about it. Renee gets her shots in plenty. Some of them you don't even see, but she gets plenty of her shots in. Anyway, we've got a kind of a maddening situation going on here. It's really mad.
Very, very distraught.
You know, I've said for a long time, and we had a letter we put out to in our newsletter not long ago, an article I wrote, saying that what the pro-aborts would really love to have is a situation where they had an abortion clinic and a Planned Parenthood facility in every shopping mall in the country. And if the pro-life movement hadn't been around, there would be a Planned Parenthood in every school in this country.
That's right.
And I'm convinced that's true.
Yeah, everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, the shopping centers around the corner, everywhere.
Everywhere. Sure. Now, in Reading, Pennsylvania, the school board there is voting to start what they call a resource center for reproductive health, and guess who it will be managed and run by?
Let me guess.
Planned Parenthood.
Of course.
This is clearly an obscenity. The school board is as morally bankrupt as Planned Parenthood if they allow these animals to come into the school and
Right.
give your kids access to them.
That's right.
Give these people access to the kids that go there. If I were a parent up there, and I know there are some parents that are protesting, and actually we were going to have a lady on the show today, but we've had technical problems like we were talking about, and so we weren't able to do that. But she's protesting this and leading an effort to see this stopped. Anyway, funding for this program is going to come from the Pennsylvania Department of Health.
Yes.
And it's going to be managed in daily operations, and there will be a staff member there from Planned Parenthood to oversee the thing. This is criminal because basically, if you look at this and we have materials here from Planned Parenthood, and we've got stuff from all over the country that they use. These people are sexual predators. If you read the stuff that they're putting out there, the stuff that Planned Parenthood's putting out, if you went out onto the street and just randomly chose a child off the street and showed them these materials or read from these materials, you'd be arrested as a child predator, and you should be.
And immediately.
Right.
Yeah.
But as long as you do it as a educator in a
Right.
classroom,
Right.
then it's not sexual predation. It's education.
Right. I mean, even for us to hold up the things that Planned Parenthood is teaching our kids on this screen, we would still be in trouble.
Right. We wouldn't do it.
Well, I mean, we wouldn't do it first off, but
Or just describe some of the things that they talk about.
yeah. And Planned Parenthood does not have these kids in their best interest. They don't care.
No.
They are there to sell them birth control, the lowest dose that they can get, and these girls have to take that
Sell
at
them
the
abortions.
same time every day, or it doesn't work. They're going to get pregnant, and then guess what? They sell them the abortion.
They sell them an abortion. And if they sell them an abortion pill and it doesn't work, they get to sell them two abortions.
I know, isn't that
lovely?
That's ideal.
That's ideal.
Exactly what they want.
I told you about a situation. This happened before you came to work here. A few years ago, I got a call from a woman whose child went to a school district up in Seattle, Washington area. And she said her son had come home saying that he was really embarrassed and he was upset about some things that he was hearing at school related to sex. Now, this boy was, I want to say he was either 11 or 12 years old, but he was a very young boy. And she said he was very embarrassed, and some of the other kids were embarrassed, and they were giggling, and he started telling her some of the things they were talking about. Mm-hmm. And this woman said, these are things that my husband and I wouldn't talk about.
Right.
And They're speaking about this stuff like it's just natural and normal.
Right. When it should be a parent that's doing it, not somebody that these kids have no
Well,
clue
she said
about.
a parent wouldn't even talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
But
And I want to clear something up whenever,
Okay, go ahead.
if you, no, just remind me.
All right. Anyway, she raised a ruckus with the school, and she said this was totally inappropriate, what was being done here. And so she and another lady said they were going to go to the next class. Mm-hmm. This was being run by Planned Parenthood, and they were going to sit at the back of the class and actually see for themselves what's being said. Mm-hmm. Well, lo and behold, she said, we went to that class, and it was very clinical. There was nothing outrageous in it. They weren't talking about weird sexual practices or some of the things that they were talking about before. She said none of that went on. And so she said, we go back home. And the next day, she said, my son came back and said, in the very next class, after we left, they're back to the old stuff.
Right.
And she was, saying, what can we do about this? And she said, we live in a very godless, liberal, leftist environment here. The school board is very hardcore pro-abortion, pro-Planned Parenthood. And she said, we can't get these people out of our schools. They're like rats. You can't get them out, cockroaches. Well, they're worse than cockroaches and rats, but nonetheless, she said, we can't get them out. Mm-hmm. And so what it led me to think about was I came up with an idea called Operation Watchdog. You know what that's about. We talked about it when a couple of years ago. I came up with this idea called Operation Watchdog. And what this would be is I think there's a very big need for a national organization where we get parents in school districts. Mm-hmm. And let's say you could organize just 30 parents in a school district, or 25, because 25 school days in a year, in a month. And they would each dedicate just one day.
Right.
One day a month, they would agree to go to the school and set in on any sex education training that was given, reproductive health care training, or whatever they want to call it. They would agree to go there and sit in that class and just observe what's going on.
Sure, and they have that right to do that.
They have the right to do that.
It's their kids.
Matter of fact, in some states, they are given that right by state law.
Good.
And even if they weren't, a Planned Parenthood a school district would be very shaky ground if they tried to tell parents, no, you can't go sit in that class.
Yeah, if they denied it, sure.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I think we ought to have a national organization. That's what I told this lady. And you could organize this, and we were going to organize this. This was a project that Life Dynamics was going to do. We were going to try to hire one person who did nothing but coordinate this all over the country and get people in these school districts to sit in these classrooms. And if you could get 60 people, that's only once every 2 months. If you get 90 people, it's only once every 3 months.
Right.
That somebody would have to commit to doing this. And I think that could be easily done. And you don't even have to have a child in the school district. If you're a taxpayer in that school district, you have a stake in that school. You have a right to be
Sure.
there. So we were going to organize this as a division of Life Dynamics. Unfortunately, this is the time when we lost our funding. This is one of the projects that we had to put on the shelf when we lost our major donor. But anyway, someone out there could start this as a national organization, and we would help. If you're out there and you want to look at that, just give us a call, and we'll give you the advice that we have and the things that we've already found out about this. But if we don't do this, what you have to understand is Planned Parenthood and what I call the godless left, the ultra-left liberals in this country who are basically part of Planned Parenthood, what they understand is the battle now is for the hearts and minds and souls of our children. They understand that. I think they understand that better than our people do. I think our people have this kind of naive, kind of Rebecca Sunnybrook Farm look. Mm-hmm. And they think, well, I'm raising my kids well, they're in good shape, and my kids are Christian kids, and they're this, that, and the other. So they're not susceptible to any of this stuff.
Right.
Well, first off, that's not good thinking. Christian kids get led astray all the time.
Absolutely.
By these people like from Planned Parenthood.
Yeah.
And not only that, but as Christians, our duty is not merely to our own kids, but to everybody's kids. So what about the kid who's susceptible to Planned Parenthood and comes from a broken home? Or maybe he's in foster care, or she's in foster care, or whatever it might be, and they don't have that influence at home. They are highly vulnerable to these people.
Right.
And Planned Parenthood and these other leftist pro-abortion organizations, they understand that.
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah. And homeschooling and private schooling is your ideal thing, but if you have to send your child to a public school, then this is something that you need to be involved with.
yeah, and I mean, majority of people in this country cannot afford to send their kid to a private school, and a lot of those people aren't qualified to be homeschooling, or they have to work or whatever it might
Right.
be. So the reality is, we're stuck with the public schools.
Sure.
To a certain degree. I mean, your
Right.
kids go to public schools,
They do.
and
Yep.
fortunately, your kids go to a really good. It seems like most of the teachers there are Christian people, and
It's a very Christian little small town.
right.
Yeah.
And a lot of the nonsense that you see going on around the country wouldn't fly for 10 minutes in Ponder, Texas.
No, not one bit.
They'd
not
be
at
run
all.
out of town on a rail.
No.
In most Texas schools.
No, and I'd also like to make the point with Planned Parenthood coming in and doing sex education with our children. They come in maybe once or twice a year, maybe,
Right.
and
Well, what they're wanting to do
This-
here is be there every day.
this is this is an office that is actually going into Reading High School. They're going to be
Right.
there every single day to counsel those children there. And so, if you're a parent there or you live, or it doesn't even matter, I would get on the phone and I would call Reading School Board and talk to them about this. Email them. I would do something and
They would
tell
be hearing.
them to vote no.
Right.
It's a requirement. Vote
They would
no.
be hearing from me. And the thing we need to understand here, and what's important for everybody else out there, you say, well, I don't have kids in the Reading School District. I don't even live in Pennsylvania. If you think that Planned Parenthood is going to stop in Reading, Pennsylvania,
Oh,
think again.
right.
This is a nationwide program.
Yep.
And you know how I talked about on the show here, and I wrote in Siege, that if Hillary Clinton had won the election over Trump, that I think this would be happening as we speak. I think Planned Parenthood would be an agency of the federal government.
Right.
I think that's what everything was building up to, and the signs for that are, I think, overwhelming. They were going to become an agency of the United States government. Had that happened, this would be in every school in the country, almost immediately.
No, I agree. I agree 100% with that. After all, she was for the killing of the babies
Right.
the day they were supposed to be born. So
Right, yeah. This woman, well, let's don't go down that trail.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear that language. But anyway, what we have to understand is this is a battle for the hearts and minds of our children, and the souls of our children. And we cannot turn our children's future over to sexual deviance at Planned Parenthood. That's just a reality. We cannot do that.
no, we can't.
We cannot allow
have
that
to
to happen.
fight for them.
Now, an addendum to this project, I said we had to put Operation Watchdog on hold. And by the way, again, as I said a moment ago, if anyone out there is interested in becoming a coordinator for this and organizing this on your own, I'd be certainly happy to give you whatever advice you want, and just give us a call and we'll talk about it. But I think this is something that's got to happen. But internally, for Life Dynamics, we've told you before about our campus project. And this is something that's moving along, and we want to give an update on this in a minute, but just to give you an example of what it is. Years ago, I'm sure you're all familiar with the Genocide Awareness Project that was started by the Center for Bioethical Reform in California, Greg Cunningham. It's a great project. He was going on college campuses with the large displays of aborted babies and the realities of abortion. And it's a very, very good project. And now there's other organizations out there like Created Equal with Mark Harrington. They're doing the same thing. Years ago, Greg was given permission by Indiana University to go on campus there with the project. And problem is, when he got there, they wouldn't let him go. They'd driven their trucks from California, very expensive process for him. And then when he showed up at the campus, they said, oh, by the way, we've changed our mind. You can't set up here. He sued them, and they state judge eventually ruled, as I remember, it was a state judge, eventually ruled that the school had to let him on the campus. They couldn't keep him off. But by then, he was already committed to go somewhere else, and he was already gone. And I think the administration at Indiana University knew exactly what they were doing. I think when they told him he could be on that campus, they never intended to let him set up there. It was a ruse from day one. Anyway, it really angered me, and as well as Zentra, my assistant at that time. She had graduated from Indiana University. So what we did is we decided to do a direct mail campaign on the campus to the students. So, okay, if the thought police and Indiana University's administration is going to say these kids can't see this, then we'll show it to them. They can't stop direct mail.
Right.
And we have a lot of experience with direct mail. We've used it in a lot of different venues over the years. So we did a very aggressive direct mail piece showing the realities of abortion, talking about the realities of abortion. And when we sent that out to the campus, it exploded. I mean, that campus
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wound up on the national news, as a matter of fact. And it was extraordinarily powerful. As a matter of fact, Greg Cunningham and I talked about it one time, and his view was that we may have gotten more impact, we meaning the pro-life movement, may have gotten more impact off this direct mail than he would have gotten from the GAP project, because what makes the pro-aborts so unbelievably angry about this direct mail program is they can't stop it. It's legal. There's nothing they can do to prevent it. When you set up these large displays on the campuses, several things can happen. First off, the administration can prohibit you from being there. Even if they allow you to go, they can force you to set up in what they call the free speech zone or somewhere, and it can be in, an unfinished parking lot 150 miles from the campus if that's what they want. And they often do that, put it in a place where there's no traffic. The other thing that happens is the pro-aborts typically show up with sheets on long poles that they hold up in front of the. They don't want people.
They try to
see.
block it. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So there's all kinds of things they can do to stop it. There's nothing they can do to stop direct mail. What we are in the process of doing right now, we are re-implementing our direct mail program, but we're not waiting for the colleges to deny access or to throw somebody off. We're going to do it preemptively. We're going to be on these college campuses because this thing in Reading, Pennsylvania is a good example of what Planned Parenthood and that group is willing to do. They're going after our kids, and sometimes they're going after kids. We've seen them putting out stuff for 3 to 5 year olds, and they're putting out stuff for college kids. We're going to be on those campuses, and we're needing some help generating mailing lists, and we've talked to you about that on the show before. And the good news is we have, and that's what I want to update, we have put together now a team, about I think it's 19 people at 19 different campuses so far that are getting us the information. We're going to be on some of the largest universities in the country.
Yes.
Right after the fall semester starts. We're hoping to be during that fall semester doing our first mailing. And it's a very aggressive mailing. It has pictures of an aborted unborn baby. It has facts about abortion, the fact that almost all abortions are done for non-medical reasons.
We've already had great success, and if people live in an area where there's a large college
and you want to help,
yeah.
give us a call. And by the way, your help can be done without spending a nickel. That's one of the nicest things about this. But we're going to be on these college campuses, and we're going to be on there aggressively. We are not going to cede to these degenerates and these sexual deviants from Planned Parenthood. We are not going to cede the college campus, high school campus, junior high, elementary. We're not going to cede it to them. We're not going to give up our children that easy. And
just like they're fighting to not give them up, we're going to fight even harder.
We're going to fight harder.
Yep.
That's right. We're going to fight them harder than they're fighting.
Yep.
And so anyway, we're very excited with this project, and we've got several campuses. We just talked to a young lady yesterday that we had talked to on Friday, and she is pumped.
She's
a
excited.
worker.
Yeah.
She's already out doing the things that are laying the groundwork for us, and she's pumped. She's ready to go.
On a good college too.
Yep, it's on a big
Thumbs up.
college.
Yep.
And we've got I don't want to say who the colleges are. I don't want to give the pro aborts a heads up, but we're going to be on some of the biggest, most prestigious, large schools in the United States. It's really exciting.
Watch out, pro aborts. Watch out.
Right. And we're going to start sending this direct mail out. And like I said, if you want to help out in your local community, If you have a university nearby, give us a call. It may be a university that we need help on. It probably will be. And this is not a one-time deal. This is going to be an ongoing process.
Yep.
And also another thing that we need to remind you of, this is going to be expensive for us, and we are going to need some help fundraising. Our fundraising has taken a hit, as we've told you about in the past. We took a major hit in, June of 2015. Mm-hmm. We lost our biggest donor. Our monthly budget dropped by our monthly income dropped about 70% in one day. And that caused us to have to set a whole bunch of projects on the back burner, things that we were just getting ready to implement. For example, this Operation Watchdog project. And it's affected things like Bikers for Life and all that. But we're committed to this project right now, this campus project. But we do need your help financially, and there are ways you can donate. Renee, tell people how they can donate. You know that better than I do as far as the online stuff goes.
Yeah, there's a donate button on Facebook if you'd like to do that, or you can call the office, or you can mail. There's many different ways that you can help out.
Believe me, if you want to help, we won't be hard to find. I promise you.
We're right here.
We're right here. But this stuff doesn't happen for free, and I can tell you that printing costs have gone up radically over the last 3 or 4 years, as have postage costs. So this is an expensive project, but again, we either do things like this or we just surrender the campus and surrender the kids.
Not going to happen.
We're not going to do that.
No.
We're not interested in that. Anyway, did you have something else?
Nope, that's it. Just send us your comments and
Right.
your suggestions for shows.
Right. Send them to Renee. She's the gargoyle. She's the one who gets all the information in and turns it over to me, and we try to decide if it's a show that we want to do. If we use your suggestion for a show, or we have you on the show or whatever, you get a free Life Dynamics mug. We'd be happy to send one to you in the mail. And I guess that's about it.
That's it.
That's it for Friday.
Have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Until then, remember, Life Dynamics is not here to put up a good fight. We're here to win, because winning is how the killing stops. We'll see you next week.
Hi, have you seen this pen? It's really neat.